The panel is moderated by Jessica, Parland-von Essen. She is Development Manager, particularly Fair Data and EOSC project at CSC. And then we have panelists from left to right. Hannu-Pekka Polttila is head of department in Archives and Information Services in the Finnish Heritage Agency. Tomi Ahoranta is an archivist in the National Archives of Finland and also a secretary of the Memory of the World National Committee. And Kimmo Tuominen is National Librarian and professor and in the National Library of Finland. And Rosa Ballardini comes from the University of Lapland. She is a professor of intellectual property law and vice dean in the University of Lapland, and she also represents here the DIGICHer project. Welcome all, and now I give the floor to Jessica.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really an honor to be here. I think we have a very distinguished panel here, but so our subject is really important too. I would like to start by a short round of if you could introduce a bit yourself and talk perhaps about your thoughts about this subject, the open cultural heritage, and maybe also if you can, if there has been some themes earlier today that feel relevant, you can feel free to talk about those, and also maybe if you have some expectations for this discussion. But please, Hannu-Pekka.
Yeah, good evening or afternoon, everyone. I'm Hannu-Pekka Polttila from the National Heritage Agency here. I guess for us, as a national museum organization, we have like a wide spectrum of cultural heritage to guard over and share. We have everything from a sarcophagus to pictures to books. But I guess the fundamental kind of premise why we exist is to kind of preserve and then to share essentially that information. And I guess it's a really like a big wide question, openness. But I guess openness is something really it's easy to say, like to strive for openness. Then like next question is how there's copyright, there's architecture and information systems and why to do and why not to do. But it's an interesting discussion to have today.
Yeah, thank you. Then Tomi.
Hello everyone, my name is Tomi Ahoranta and I work at the National Archives of Finland with our brand new digital delivery service that should enable open access to cultural heritage to those who can't visit the archives for some reason or haven't done so in the past. Now they can have the material delivered online and are free to take a look what kind of material they can find there. And I'm also the secretary of our National UNESCO's Memory of the World Committee. And on my spare time, I'm a keen user of cultural heritage and client to many cultural heritage organizations. And therefore, I also understand that openness to customers may sometimes be a bit different than to those who work at those organizations.
Okay, thank you. Then Kimmo.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimmo Tuominen, and I'm the National Librarian. I come from the National Library, where we have different kinds of documents. I think over 100 kilometers of printed documents, and then we have also digital documents, digital data in various formats, and we have like estimated now that it's over or at least almost calculated that it's over 1 petabytes of data we have, and it's 1 and I guess 15 zeros in petabyte, and of course we have been involved in TAROCH cooperation for a while, as we heard, and we have been. Our central value is openness, and of course we want to have us as much open as possible. And I think this public domain is not that much a challenge for us. It's the copyrighted data that is the main challenge. How to enable use of these materials. So there are perhaps some risks and also challenges there.
Yes, I think copyright is one of the issues. Then Rosa.
So, hello everybody, I'm Rosa Ballardini, come from the University of Lapland, Faculty of Law. Thanks for the kind introduction. And as a good lawyer, I'm here to raise some problems. There are several issues, as all of you know, about going open. Open is great, but there are also some challenges. And among the different challenges, I guess I've been asked here to present one specific challenge that relates to ethics. So I heard from the other presenters issues related to law, copyright especially. Of course, I'm an IP lawyer, so I'm quite familiar with the challenges there. Then someone mentioned technology as a challenge. Maybe we can add also economic challenges. And then there is another challenge, which is ethics. So my point here, what I would like to people to take home here after this perhaps panel, is that there are challenges that are also not the traditional ones. And when we speak about ethics and we speak a different type of heritage, maybe one issue that I would like to discuss and present here is it relates to digitizing minorities' heritage, such as heritage of indigenous people and minorities. But especially my wish is that we don't take this as a challenge, but as an opportunity. So I hope that at the end of the panel, I will convince you that we can go digital and go open responsibly and engage in this opportunity, which is not like a challenge.
Thank you. Also, great. Now I'm hoping that during this discussion, we have like 4 themes here. That I welcome the audience also to raise your hand if you have comments or questions and take part. So we can have an open panel here and participation also of the audience. I don't know about the Zoom, maybe it's possible also to pick questions from there if you find something that fits into the theme. So I would perhaps like to start with you, Rosa, and this, maybe could you talk a bit about this commons and digital commons and public domain and democracy, and yeah, please, if you could talk a bit about that, and maybe then also about the ethical questions you wanted to raise.
Okay, so an easy question. Maybe if it's okay, I can a little bit explain what is the DIGICHer project is about, so that it perhaps opens up the issue of public domain. So DIGICHer is a project that is funded by the Horizon Europe, but the whole idea of the project, where we are part as University of Lapland Faculty of Law, there is also the Finnish National Archive and several other partners. The Commission, as always, when opened the call, was asking a specific need, was highlighting a specific need, and the need there was. So the Commission was saying that we have invested a lot of money now during the past years in promoting digitization of heritage, also including openness. Now let's take, it's time to take a step back, so stop a little bit and reflect what we have done, what is missing, what we have overlooked, what kind of mistakes we have done. So the challenge was reflecting back and see what has gone either wrong or has been overlooked. And in that context, we thought that something has been at least overlooked. I'm not saying it didn't go well, but at least it has been overlooked in the digitization process. And that something was digitizing minorities' heritage in a way that is also respectful of minorities' values. So the whole point is that while the digitization process of cultural heritage, including open access policies, have very much been focusing on increasing technological access, increasing efficiency, reducing costs, we have not been very good in considering how digitization can be done in a way that it also respectful of certain minorities' values. So that's the whole idea of the DIGICHer project. Can we develop processes for digitizing cultural heritage of minorities in a way that also these minorities' values are respected? And here comes the issue of public domain. I don't think the project challenges what is public domain. I heard, I think it was the presenter over there who was mentioning issues related to public domain. Obviously, as an IP lawyer, we understand public domain as material that is either not copyrighted or where copyrighted has expired or where there is suitable licensing. But is that enough? So sometimes the concept of public domain does not only depend on the legal issues, but there are also ethical issues when we speak about minorities' heritage. For instance, there are certain material belonging to indigenous community, for example, where copyright as a legal tool does not apply for reasons because, for instance, copyright has expired a long time ago. Often this material is very, very old, so copyright does not apply anymore. At the same time, is that material by definition in the public domain? Should it be treated as being in the public domain? One of the issues that we try to solve in addressing this problem, because there has been different kind of challenges that also made the headlines, I think also in Finland, when publishing open access material belonging to indigenous people, is that participation of these communities is essential in the process. So what we are trying to create here are policies that do not block openness, but that lead to openness in a perhaps more responsible way. And this more responsible way in the project we seek through participation, through engagement with communities.
So like in the care principles, yeah, that you need to have the people concerned involved so they really can be engaged. Please, Kimmo.
Yes. I might comment because I think this ethical aspect, as you mentioned, is very, very important. And what we have done in the national libraries, that we have had a project concerning Sami languages, so support for information services in Sami language in North Sami, and we have we now have interface of Finna in North Sami, and also we have our general Finnish ontology in North Sami. There we have 20,000 North Sami terms there that have been translated, and that's something we have done all the time together with the representatives of the minority. So that's what we have learned, that is very important, and really to find the right terms and so on. It's ongoing work all the time.
Please.
Maria Virtanen from Finna Services in National Library of Finland. What you say, Rosa, is very interesting and very important to us in Finna's roadmap. We have a development roadmap until 2028, and there is one point called ethical use of cultural heritage materials, and we have recognized that we would need extra funding for making this happen. And one thing we have considered is traditional knowledge labels. What is your opinion about traditional knowledge labels, maybe in Finnish context?
Thank you very much, and it's very nice to hear and also the experience presented here. I think that the labels and also to some extent the trademark, like the DIGICHer trademark, are increasingly being used, and they are certainly welcome. There is one key issue when we speak about IPRs and protecting heritage of, for instance, indigenous communities, the very nature of IP. IPRs are individual rights, while when we speak about indigenous heritage is very much about collective rights. So there is really a fundamental problem. And somehow the use of labels and trademarks kind of solve a little bit this issue, but still copyright issues are there. So what I'm saying is that perhaps I'm not here arguing in favor of creating new types of IP rights specifically for indigenous heritage. I'm not saying no, but perhaps not my first top priority, but creating a process where engagement becomes feasible. Because let's face it, it's nice to say that we want to try to engage and make the process participatory, but there are challenges, and the challenges are about efficiency, so to say, or time consuming in the process, but also possibilities for these communities to really engage and participate. And so how do we create a process where this is concrete and become realistic and is actually possible to be done? Maybe that's what we are trying to do in the process. But to answer directly to your question, certainly labels are welcome, but whether they solve the whole problem, the whole issues, I'm a bit doubtful.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, then Hannu-Pekka, what is your thinking about these ethical questions?
Really interesting question. I guess looking at, for instance, our organization, we're kind of expected to, in a way, interact with our time, but then on the other hand, to be kind of aloof. We have material from the Stone Age till today. And I guess if democracy is one of our core values, and on one sense, if you look at like the theory behind democracy and a functioning market economy, both state that they can only exist if all information is available to everyone. So it's really like a big question if there's a specific like ethnic dimension, or how do we like stay sensitive but still share information, and in a sense function in a Teflon insulated environment where like society needs to use cultural heritage to create its own tomorrow, its own yesterday, its own today. And I guess our role isn't like to do that for anyone, not to interpret our collections or the material we have, but like to provide that. And then some of the answers or conclusions that our audiences could reach might not resonate with us, but still it's part of our fundamental mission statement in a sense.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this is also, I mean, if we're thinking about the current actual digital culture, it's also sensitive information, this kind, so it can be really tricky. Now, do you, Tomi, have any comments on, or
I think pretty much the same way as Hannu-Pekka, and as nationwide institution, this is a thing we have to take into consideration, that everyone enjoys the same benefits and same kind of access and can participate in the same way in cultural heritage. And I think in the memory of the world work, we have seen also that cultural heritage can be used as a tool of politics, and that we must also take into consideration how we separate the politics from cultural heritage.
Yeah, can it be? And this is maybe perhaps a nice segue to the following theme, which is maybe about, now I would like maybe Kimmo to address this, thinking of the challenges of openness we have today with all the like polarization and sanctions and security threats, and so I feel at least that there is a rising also pressure about, oh, was this open data now such a good idea, and how do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so challenges of openness, there are at least technical and also economic challenges, and then also legal challenges, as we have heard, and I think this responsible giving this responsible openness is very important. I of course view the openness as a value and as a solution to many things, and for transparency and education and innovation. But for the technical challenges, the long-term preservation, I'm happy that we have in Finland such good systems for long-term preservation. But the other thing, also connecting to this polarization of societies and countries, is this that I call, I don't know if I have the right term, but I call it like safety, in the sense that we need to provide safe environments for our users in which they can trust, for example, the authenticity of the documents they are like watching or reading, because these things are like, this is like a quite, we have a quite a crisis here, because there are like, nowadays there are forbidden words and so on. So this safety and that the users are really sure of what they are seeing is more and more important, I think. With the economic challenges, I think we need, and I'm happy that we have government agencies that understand the value of cultural heritage, but then we need also skills for lobbying and for fundraising, and we need foundations and funds that are also interested in cultural heritage, because we need other sources of funding. That's what we have been discussing today already. Yes. So copyright is for us is very important thing and important challenge. We are very happy with the public domain, but we can have it open, but with the copyrighted documents, we might need, for example, to pay for copyright societies to have like to give people access to newspapers, digitized newspapers, and so on. So there is one of the challenges. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yes. Thank you. I was also thinking about, I remember in one of the early workshops, when we started with this update of the reference architecture, we had quite interesting and extensive discussions about the function of cultural heritage for building cohesion in society, and like this inclusion that people have actually the access. And I think it's maybe similar to what Brigitte was talking about. Yeah, Tomi.
Can I add to Kimmo's list one challenge, more the policy challenges? Sometimes users experience those, and those are very concrete, and they could be, I think, more or less easily avoidable if we just started to look at them and correct them. I have one example. A week ago, I was a customer in one of cultural heritage organizations, and I was going through some digital files, and I asked if I could have the files, and I was told, no, it's not possible, but we have a way you can do it anyway. So you are free to print on paper all the material you need. And then in the next room, they had a scanner, and I could re-scan the papers. And then in the end, I had the files I needed in digital form. And these are so-called transparent walls. We should think of if they are needed. I have several other examples, but I perhaps leave them for later. But such events keep people from cultural heritage for no obvious reason. And I think we could do more to tear down those walls.
Yes. So
when we encounter them.
Yeah, if it's perhaps not really public domain, if you need to go through these hoops.
And not ecological. Print everything on paper and then scan the papers.
Yeah. You have other examples?
Were they copyrighted materials?
Yes, they were, but I was making my own copy as stated in law.
And in the copyright law, it states that an organization must prevent the customer from making digital copies.
But one is entitled to do so.
Yeah, but the copyright said, I would like to tear down that part of the copyright law. I will pop a champagne that day that it's teared down, but you have to abide the law.
And that is one of the problems in this, because when I asked for the purpose of this conduct, it was never really open to me. They said to me that when the original digital files were the same as the original, but when I print them and rescan them, they are not the original anymore.
Not a copy. Yeah.
And that's just, I say,
yeah.
no. Well, maybe I don't say.
I would be really interested in hearing what Rosa thinks about this.
Well, in terms of changing the part of copyright law, I might support that. But of course, as an IP lawyer, I have now to put my IP law hat that at the end of the day, copyright it's supposed to serve a function, at least in society, and the function is that it serves as an incentive. So the idea is that without IP, without this incentive, we will not even have the creations, and without the creation, we would not even be able to go open. But of course, we all know that this is a narrative that we are taught as lawyers and as scholars, but the realities might be very different, but nothing can be perfect.
Yeah. About Hannu-Pekka, do you have any reflections on this or the collision?
Yeah, I guess in customer service for cultural heritage organizations, there's lots of practical hurdles you encounter. And I guess copyright law is something like, again, a big subject and exists for a reason. But of course, one would hope that how to apply that legislation serves some sort of common sense.
Please, Rosa.
So if we can follow up from the previous, so about authenticity, one of the challenges that we are seeing, and that I think you are all seeing at the moment with authenticity, is the increased use of AI. And of course, this affects heritage in different contexts. And like in the DIGICHer project, we look at in the context of minorities' heritage. And the point is exactly that only through participation we are able to ensure authenticity of content. And then if we speak about democracy, certainly democracy and openness and transparency are principles of democracy, but so is participation and representation. So I think that the point here is to lead or create a process towards openness that is responsible, So it's not about closing openness. It's not about making restriction to openness based on ethnicity. It's about making the whole process responsible through participation. Maybe that's some comments from the previous points that came up.
Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah, I think this authenticity issue is very important because when we have, and also this responsible openness, because when we have when we are sure that people are able to verify the sources and see the context and build on shared knowledge. So then there is a possibility to at least arrive in common understandings and so on. So these issues are extremely important in this age when we have this kind of like disinformation and so on. So this is at AI, the kind of content that it is generated with AI, the kind of disinformation and that is generated with AI and so on. So this kind of safety for the users, that they really know what they are watching, what they are reading, is extremely important.
Yes, again, a nice segue to our next theme. I think Johanna made this nice observation that if we can train AI only on 19th century literature, the language models will be somewhat funny. But I would now perhaps like to turn to Tomi, if you could elaborate this AI, open cultural heritage materials and AI, and what you see the opportunities and effects, and what are you thinking personally, and what are you thinking in your institution?
Well, personally, I think that AI in archival field can bring so many new possibilities we couldn't even imagine 10 years ago. When there was OCR, we were almost crying at the archives that we were sorry that such technology could not be obtained for handwritten documents because everybody has their own handwriting style. But now, all of a sudden, it was possible, and AI makes very good job at the moment in recognizing people's handwriting and old handwriting styles also. And now so many more people can enjoy and use old materials. They couldn't read the language, they don't understand the text itself, but now they can have access to it because of the AI solutions. And the leaps are huge. So within the next few years, we are already who knows where by then. But then there's the other side, that AI also does mistakes. And how do we secure that false pretension don't get out because somebody made the work with the AI and just put it open without understanding the original source and the context and so on. So there are risks also, but mainly I'm keen on the positive sides because we bring so many new people into contact with cultural heritage because of AI solutions.
Yeah, I agree. It's also a form of openness and more making the material more accessible. Kimmo, you already took the mic.
Yes, about AI also I would like to comment. I just read from Helsingin Sanomat this morning this article about AI, very important international AI research conference where they got like 29,000 papers, and they noticed that 20,000 of them are like they should be like referred, and this is a real problem because because this is so huge amount of papers needing refereeing. I guess as a researcher, for example, you can use the AI in good sense. For example, if you want to translate something through AI applications, but there is also a possibility that you can generate the content with AI applications, and this is something I'm a little bit scared about. That what happens if all the web and all the things get full of this kind of AI fake, at least some of them are fake, like documents and so on. So what happens? It's a kind of we will get much more garbage in our digital environment. We nowadays have so much garbage there, but what happens in few years if this trend continues, that we have like the content is generated with AI and put on the web and so on. So what will happen? Of course, we know that in Amazon bookstores and so on, there are books that are generated with AI, and they are trying to sell them. I'm not sure if they have succeeded that well, but this is a problem. I see that this amount of information is like growing exponentially, and the quality of information is not getting better.
This is something it really troubles me too. I mean, I'm always very sad when I see researchers being upset that their texts have been used for training and they want to ban it and stuff. I understand it in one way, but on the other hand, if you take out the scientific literature from the AI model training and you train only on the web material, I'm not sure that's so nice. So I think this is really a huge problem that I hope we could solve some way. Hannu-Pekka, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, but I guess it's important to remember that even human researchers produce garbage, and there's bias in everything any one of us says or thinks. I think AI is something it's impossible kind of to backtrack or put it back in the bottle, and it's expanding and evolving exponentially, and we as a human race are pouring resources into it at an enormous rate. So I think it's important to remember the positive aspects of it as well. If we look at libraries and archives, there's vast amounts of information, and should we make even like a medium-sized archive open for researchers, it might take more than a lifetime to sift through even part of it. Now with AI, as mentioned here, many of those materials are available in the true sense of being available, where you could query and ask questions, and you could come up with things and solutions that like a sole human mind could never dream of.
Yeah, and perhaps get more like context correct replies than by a simple string search or something.
Yeah, and if I might add, of course, there's like we're living or have been living in some sort of information age for decades, I guess. So there's more information than we could ever put in a single encyclopedia or learn even within a small domain of human life. So I guess AI is like the first thing, like a real tool to really kind of like find something from that vast galaxy of information and make something meaningful of it, and maybe identify those non-crap things.
Tomi, please.
What we should also bear in mind that AI can apply only to those materials that are digital. And in National Archives case, for example, perhaps 93% are not. And what that means, I think that's one good reason on top of the others that we should digitize far more than we do now, so that everyone can enjoy the same benefits at some reasonable point.
Yes, please, Kimmo.
I agree with these points that you are making, that we need this kind of machine intelligence to go through these vast amounts of information. That's true. I think one of the things that we need is that and what we have been thinking at the National Library is that we are like building principles of AI use and in what kind of projects we go into and so on. One of the things we need is that if you really, these are like the very practical principles, but if you like use AI and use it in generating content, then you need to somehow also make it explicit for the users that you have used these and these AI tools for generating this content. I think that's what is really needed. So it's also a question of metadata, I think.
Rosa, yeah.
Maybe just an additional comment on AI in general, as I guess we all know how we are trying hard to regulate it, and we have passed like 250 pages legislation, the infamous AI Act. I'm not sure it reaches the purpose it wants to reach, but it shows how difficult it is to regulate AI. And I also think that when you speak about AI, there are two schools of thought: those that fear AI, those that are very in favor of AI, and then perhaps the third in the middle is always maybe the best position. But the point is that maybe there are a lot of also fears towards AI, and you see them in this piece of legislation, which is the first piece of EU law that is a preventive law. So it's a risk-based legislation that prevents, rather than normally law is not preventive, is actually it applies after something has happened, then there is punishment. The AI Act prevents certain things from being done, which shows the fear. But in the context of heritage or what came out here, I wonder whether, because we are not doing a very good job in regulating AI, whether you see the increase or the increased need of actually ethical guidelines rather than hardcore law to drive the behavior, for instance, in the heritage context. Question mark to you, expert in the field. From the field of Sami heritage, it seems that the use of ethical guidelines is quite successful. It has been used in this Nuhoti portal to drive the behavior of users towards a more ethical use of heritage there, and it seems to be quite a successful tool. So I wonder whether this could also be extended and applied more in the context of AI.
Yes. I started to think about AI and copyright, and that's also, I think, quite interesting. Or is the AI outputs, are they like cultural heritage and like how the copyright goes there when you create the art with AI and everything? So it's really interesting. There's a question from the audience.
Yes, I think we really need ethical guidelines for the use of AI in the cultural heritage sector, but the problem at the moment is that we have such a diverse thinking about it. Someone thinks it's very good, we should open everything to AI, and someone thinks that we shouldn't give anything to AI. There are so diverse thinking. This summer there was this initiative from Europeana collecting these statements how cultural heritage should take a position to AI, and then people could vote for them, and the results were very diverse. So quite opposite opinions. And now European is organizing a workshop in the end of October. based on that material, can we create some kind of statement for the ethical use of AI in the cultural heritage sector? But I think it's quite problematic at the moment because people are thinking so differently. So can we find some kind of consensus about the ethical use of AI? I think it's quite difficult at the moment, but still we need some guidelines.
May I comment? I have a comment to what Rosa said earlier about the ethical guidelines and AI. I think this is where we, and I'm sorry, I'm Susanna, I work also for Finna. So I'm talking from the Finna perspective and the digital service provider perspective. So this is a kind of where we come back to the traditional knowledge labels that Maria mentioned earlier. In connection with AI, I think we need this machine-readable labeling system to be able to communicate the ethical restrictions and possibilities to the AI as well as the user reliably. So I think that's neither one of the subjects that we were talking earlier about are kind of the solution by themselves, not the traditional knowledge labels and not the collaboration with the indigenous groups themselves, but a combination of these two. So of course, when we think about how a labeling system like that should be applied in the Finnish and Nordic context, we can't do it by ourselves. We definitely need the people with us who the restrictions and the collections belong to.
Thank you. Tuominen, Helsinki City Museum. I really hope that we wouldn't talk about AI because AI is a set of different techniques. And when we talk about AI, it makes the whole conversation very blurry. So, and makes things a little bit like, it makes things blurry. Like 20 years ago, the GPS was AI. Nobody doesn't talk about AI when they talk about GPS. So there are different kind of upcoming technologies that are called AI in this moment. They won't be called AI in 20 years from now. So that would make the conversation quite more easier when we would be using more specific words. And I know we are humanists and lawyers here. But if there will be a more technical guy, they really don't talk about AI. They talk in more specific terms. Thanks.
I think that's a really good point. The question is actually, I mean, it's a tool that you can, or different tools that you can use in different ways, for different services or different. Yeah, Kimmo.
I guess we have mostly talked about the kind of generative AI that is based on these large language models. And yes, about giving cultural heritage materials to AI, I think we need to make also differences there because the uses are different. So I think it's one thing to give materials for research purposes, for your basic research, and the other thing is to give the materials to commercial actors. So I think this is one of the important things we need to keep in mind. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I would now like to discuss the questions or dimensions of sustainability. Also maybe related to AI use but Hannu-Pekka, in your thinking, how does openness promote sustainable development? Does it? Economic, environmental, social? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I guess fundamentally, open data makes it easier to work together to find common ground. We talked about the reference architecture earlier today, and I guess one of the aims there is to have better visibility to what our neighbors do and maybe find common family where the option or alternative would be to do something on ourselves or by ourselves. I guess oftentimes open data technology AI is coupled with concerns about energy use. I guess traditionally and still today, we as cultural heritage organization, or our main concern maybe should be like the physical aspects of our collections and how much energy and space and resources those take up. That's something that I think is like something we can have an impact on. Then when it comes to the global use of energy for storing and processing data, that's of course a big question, but then again, look, we as a human race are moving towards like a more and more a knowledge economy. So we need that energy, and I guess the bright side is that use of energy might preclude travel or maybe some physical commodities that we would consume digital commodities instead of physical commodities. And then also like the good thing with all of those trillions of dollars being poured into the technology sector is that all those algorithms are getting more efficient by the year, and storage is becoming more efficient. But I guess as a society, it's the same question we kind of deal with with our collections. That what's like the part of our collections we need to hang on to in the physical world, and what do we hang on to in the digital?
How do you think about sustainability?
Yeah, so that's one of the things. For example, when we have made our like the digitization program for future years, that's something we have been thinking quite much at the National Library and with our also users, academic users, and so on. So we need to be really think about what we are going to digitize, so that we are not digitizing one document at a time, but larger like areas of larger parts of documents that belong together, so that we do it once, we do it as well as possible, and we don't do the things that someone else is doing somewhere. That's, I think, for the energy consumption also, that we don't do things that someone else is doing somewhere in some other country or in some other organization. So these are important, and there are like also like we of course this consumes energy, but also it might like make it for the researchers, for example, they don't have to travel when they have access to digital documents and so on. So if something is available at the Vatican Library, if they have digitized it, you don't have to travel you don't have to fly to Rome and so on to get to the Vatican Library. So that's something quite a basic example of this.
Tomi.
And we also have to bear in mind that at the end of the day, at least in the archives, the buildings are the biggest payload we have sustainability-wise. So if we could digitize more material, we can take the originals to more dense conditions, and when we need less buildings. And that's something we can really save up our environmental payloads when we have the material digitized as much as possible, and the originals are stored rationally in dense spaces.
Yeah. Rosa, you thought about sustainability.
So I guess if we think about the pillars of sustainability, in addition to environmental, I guess it's pretty obvious that openness might support, if done responsibly, also the pillar of social sustainability and inclusiveness and access, increasing access in different places, which means access also to the future generation and renewal of heritage, which is obviously also part of the sustainability pillars.
Thank you. I think our time is nearing its end. I would like to ask you to, if there are no questions, no from the audience or comments. Oh, please.
Riitta Peltonen from the Finnish Services. I have one comment. When you talk about sustainability and think about it's always connecting to the environment, but I think there's kind of bigger issues and kind of negative scenarios there as well. Since, for example, recognizing faces. Now the privacy is sort of like if your museums are capturing the current history and the privacy is related to that. You're not allowed to put name tag there, sort of to make it a searchable. But what about when AI comes to a place that you just can't give a face there and ask that? Is that face has, for example, associated with any political events or that kind of things? So I think the AI will raise quite big issues as well.
Yes, despite all our regulation. Would you like any of you comment?
Yeah, that's of course new technology brings to us its opportunities, but also negative sides. Like facial recognition has for years been really advanced for security services use it, and even like over-the-counter software you can buy, and that's like a practical example where complete openness has its downsides.
But let's also keep in mind that, like in your example, I would call that as high risk use of AI, which would by definition be prohibited by the AI Act. So it depends also where in which region we are discussing. In Europe, I think it will be forbidden globally. It's another issue, but certainly these are challenges to be considered.
Yes, Susan.
Maybe I just have a rhetoric question here. Like, I don't think we can think of development in ways that it's like changing weather, or maybe it is a changing weather, but I think that we are agents. So like we have, we can act and we can make restrictions or we can guide the development and so on. So what's your take on maybe these global initiatives or European global initiatives of for example, digital public goods? Well, I think this is a big question, but maybe what's your take on agency in relation to controlling where the development goes, like freedom versus control?
Like flooding the zone with the good stuff. Maybe we could let this be the final question. If all of you would give some thoughts about the future and perhaps, yeah, where would you like to be, say 10 years, and what is the agency we can have in this community?
Yeah, well, I guess I alluded earlier to all those like resources we're putting into that type of technology. I think it's impossible to stem the tide, and I'd say it's impossible for us to have any meaningful globally impact if we look at like the development of AI. It's a world we have to live in. It's more like how we adapt, I think. Also because it's technology like that doesn't know boundaries. There only needs to be 1 square meter on this planet where you apply the technology and money will find its way there.
Yes, I think I don't really know where to start. So this was so huge.
You only have 1 minute.
Oh, perhaps I don't start at all, but we need cooperation to increase openness. That is absolutely the point. And we can do things domestically, very many things, but some things need to be done on international level. But one more thought about the AI and language models. I want to say this before I stop. There are, of course, risks that needs consideration, but we also, I think this is the time to bathe in the sun of AI before the clouds emerge. It brings us huge potential to do things that weren't possible 10 years ago, and that's something I think everyone should keep in mind, that let's enjoy the benefits and not worry so much about the negative sides, although they need attention, but let's stay on the positive side.
Thank you, that was nice. Kimmo?
Yeah, I thought that I am an optimist, but when I hear these gentlemen, they are really more optimistic than I seem to be. Well, but yeah, I agree with that. We should of course do the things with AI that are easily and responsibly we are able to do them. And also I agree with your point on cooperation and international cooperation as part of this cooperation in the library field. That has been like, we have a long tradition of also international collaboration, and I think there is a need for organizations like IFLA and also TAROCH and so on. So this is something we need to continue, because if we don't like combine our voices and our point of views, there are so strong actors elsewhere that take the arena and raise their voice. So that's why we need to we can have impact if we do it together.
Thank you. Rosa?
So I support the collaboration element here, hopefully on a collaboration that is bottom up, not top down. So to the question, should we take a role of directing or following? Maybe both, but to me the important, perhaps if we want to achieve an agreement and achieve global openness, it's important to collaboration in a way that give power to any stakeholder that has a voice. So give voice also to actors that are currently involved and that they are voiceless. So maybe that's what I hope to see in 10 years' time. Maybe add 1-0 or 2-0 to the end.
Thank you. Thank you. This was a really nice panel discussion. Thank you.